Welcome to Share Talk, the only podcast where investors come first.
Hi, this is Zak Mir with the Bulletin Board Heroes here on Share Talk for Wednesday, the 1st of July. Starting off with Barclay Energia, where we followed this stock before, or highlighted it before, but looking for a 40p target. It's bounced off the floor of this rising trend channel from April around the 23 pence level, at least while we're above the 20-day line at 21 pence, looking for 40 pence plus over the next month to 6 weeks. The big plus point here was the gap higher through the initial May resistance. That remains unfilled, and that should provide a pretty good momentum for the stock, especially if we get an end-of-day close above 24 and that June resistance line. Cat and I up around 60% as I speak at the moment, recovering from a negative article yesterday, but fighting back with a new announcement today regarding progress within the business. End of day close above the May resistance line at 4 pence should be enough to deliver the next leg to the upside, up towards a retest of the April peak just shy of 10 pence. Currently, the stop loss and end-of-day close back below the 50-day moving average of 2.95 pence. The reason for inclusion today has been the gap through the 50-day line, which is currently rising, and that's normally a decent technical signal. The other point to note is that we do have a line of resistance that can be drawn from March, heading to 22 pence, which is the big picture target over perhaps the next 2 to 3 months. Also coincides with somebody else I know who's got a target at that level, but I'm not quite sure how he's managed to calculate that. On to another bullish situation coming in the form of Carrera Network. Here you can see that shares have easily broken the top of the initial June peak at 9 pence, while we're above that looking for a top of April 2019 price channel peak at 15 pence plus. In fact, the way that we've had this gap higher and that remains unfilled through resistance, and a very sharp and short spike out of a bull flag suggests that 15 pence at the moment would be the minimum on the upside, especially while we remain above today's intraday floor around the 8 pence level. ECR Minerals, a stock which has caused problems to the bulls in the recent past, but reason for the inclusion today is that we're looking for an end-of-day close or a weekly close above the old June 2019 resistance at 0.9 pence. If we can get that, then it does open up the possibility of a top of November price channel target as high as 1.4 pence for ECR Minerals. Stop loss at the moment back below the 50-day moving average of 0.75. Haydale Graphene is next, and there was a time quite recently when graphene was sort of a bad name on the market, but it looks like it's recovered a bit here now, rehabilitated. Current situation is that we've broken that old May resistance from last year at 2.7 pence. That should now hopefully come into support. And while we're above that, looking for a top of broadening March 2019 triangle as high as 6 pence, even though the RSI is currently very overbought at 90 plus, and even though we've had a spike in volume, buy volume at the moment, towards the 50 million level, but above 2.7, it looks like we've got a serious breakout there for Haydale. Cadence is next, stock which has got people excited both for technical and fundamental reasons in the near term. Here you can see that stock just breaking through the 20-day moving average at basically 9 pence. End of day close above that today or later this week should be enough to lift the stock up towards a target as high as 15 pence, which would be the top of that rising trend channel from April. It's another stock where you notice that we've had that gap higher, unfilled gap higher from the bottom of the range, followed by bull flags, and that so-called rocket launch formation should be enough to keep on lifting the price action here over the near term. Stop loss at the moment back below the 50-day line and the floor of the channel at 7 3/4 pence. Next up, a stock which is rather more obscure, but hopefully will do its job over the next month or two. Oriole Resources, nice uptrend line bounce from March at roughly 0.3 pence level, while we're above that. Looking for recovery. If you're cautious on the shares, maybe wait for a break of the January resistance line projection around 0.37 pence on an end of day or a weekly close basis. If we can get that this week at some point, the target here on a technical basis should be, or could be, the March resistance line projection at 0.7 pence, maybe as soon as the end of next month. Stock, which is making a return after a long time, I think, is the next one here, PV Crystalox. Here we've got a break of this February resistance line at 46 pence, so an end of day close or a weekly close above that could be the trigger for a test of the top of that resistance line there from January at 85 pence over the next couple of months. Stop loss at the moment, weekly close or end of day close back below 40 pence, which is I suppose post-April support for the shares. A bit of a flurry in TriStar at the moment. Seen it being sort of behave somewhat erratically over the near term, but looks like it's finally resolving to the upside. I like this push through the rising 50-day moving average, currently at 19 pence. While we hold above that and that broken June resistance line on an end of day close basis, the upside here could be to fill the gap down from January and hit that January resistance line projection as high as 37 pence. But I suppose the main point here is that we've got the higher lows since February, and also we've broken back or are about to break back above the 200-day moving average at 22 pence. Vast Resources remain something of a Marmite stock in the market, but what's encouraging at the moment is all the near-term moving averages are currently rising, including the 200-day line. So an end-of-day close or a weekly close above that and the January resistance line projection at 20.26 pence could finally be enough to give us a retest of the 0.45 to 0.5 pence main resistance that we've had on the daily chart since the autumn. This stage only really back below the 50-day line and the March support line at 0.18 really upsets the idea of recovery for this situation. Finally, to finish off with Velocis, where the stock has been everywhere and really bouncing around quite wildly over the recent past. Was placing obviously around, I believe, the 5 pence level, bounced off that and the 50-day moving average at 5 pence. Beautiful key reversal to the upside today, and all the near-term moving averages rising as well, which should suggest that at least while we hold above the 20-day line at 7 3/4 pence on an end-of-day close, we've got a decent chance of retesting the best levels of this month back at 16 pence over the next month or so. In the meantime, any dips towards the 5 to 6 pence area, basically from the 50-day line upwards to the that 34-day moving average, we have a potential buying zone for the shares. That's it from me today. More updates tomorrow.
Thank you for listening. Remember to visit our website for more news and other podcasts at www.share-talk.com.